Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you in another video. All right, so Lakers. That was bad. I'll do a full reaction to the game. I guess when I get home, after I take my shower, after I get food all settled, I'll make a video. So it'll be uploading in the wee hours in the morning, likely. But I can talk, you know what I mean, about the Laker game and just kind of just give my thoughts. First of all, I was listening to JJ on the way home, and he was essentially saying that he ain't about to do this for another 53 games, and he felt like guys just gotta want it. It's not about, they'll tell you they want to try hard, but you have to want it bad enough to do what's necessary to succeed. And I know JJ is new to this, and I believe he believes what he's saying, but this is a path that coaches tend to go down. It's not a good look, JJ. I'm just going to be honest with you. We saw Darvin do the same thing, and the reason why is, although what you're saying may actually be true, the reality is that it looks as if you're taking the onus off of yourself to say that there's nothing that you could have done to make the team better. But the problem with the game of basketball when thinking that way as a coach is that you're going to have people who have other ideas about how you should have approached your game plan, your rotations. And there's no right or wrong way to do things. Sometimes you can do things in ways I consider to be wrong, small ball, for example, and it may work for you. So when you have that type of subject that you're talking about, and you approach it that way, it opens the door for those who see solutions that maybe you don't see, or opens the doors for those who would disagree about how you approached your game plan, and will say that you took the onus off of yourself. Now, you may be very well smarter than those individuals. For example, myself. I may say, oh, I thought you should have used this, and this. You know 100,000 times more basketball than I do. So technically, by the sense of understanding, and I hope I'm wording this correctly, I'm not the greatest when it comes to wording things, but throughout the approach of greater understanding, someone who's looking on the sidelines will clearly lean into your expertise over mine. But that being the case, that does nothing for my opinion about me having a solution in regards to what you're doing that maybe you didn't have. So that and then can turn around and give me the opinion that you're taking the onus off of yourself, and that you should have did other things that maybe have nothing to do with the player's effort or the players wanting it bad enough. You should have put different people on the floor. You should have had them doing different things. It just creates a world where you're going to have a lot of pushback, even if it boils down to you being right, because of the subject being so interchangeable or fluid, I guess is the word. It can make it look as if you're lacking accountability, and people will have a very strong opinion about JJ's approach, just like they did when Darvin Ham did it. They sit up here getting on our players, but there were things you could have done better, and that you didn't acknowledge that, and instead push the onus off on the players. It looks like you're scapegoating the guys. It looks like any coach, anyone who does this in any setting, looks as if they're scapegoating the guys and taking the onus off of themselves. I don't believe JJ intends to do that. And then I've seen coaches do this a couple times in our league. I would just tell them that, to me, it looks bad. It's a bad look. Even if you're right, it's a bad look. Because when Darvin did it, I didn't have the type of patience to really look at it that way. I came at it with the cut and dry, I believe in what I see, and you're not doing what I think you should, and because of it, you're taking the onus off the players. In hindsight, I'll just say, I don't know half as much as these coaches do when it comes to the game of basketball, but I do know what I think would have worked, and they didn't necessarily try that. You understand what I'm saying? Now, would it have actually worked? Who knows? That's not how this works when you have something that's fluid. You can do things the right way, still get the wrong results. You can do things the wrong way and still get the right results. It's not The game is so fluid in that regard that there's no right or wrong answer. It's just try something and either it works or it doesn't. You see what I'm saying? That's what it is in the game of basketball. And even that is within reason, because you can put the ball in the center's hands and then put the point guard in the paint and heighten your chances of being unsuccessful. But even that can stumble into success depending on how things are going with the ever fluidity of the game. So the more I come to understand, the more I have to identify what I'm looking at as it pertains to the fluidity versus my belief that things will work if this were to be tried, versus the understanding that, hey man, these guys know more than me. And if I come up here with so much confidence, even though I truly believe what I'm saying, my opinion only beholds but so much weight in regards to the sport itself. Based on my lack of professional expertise, having not played the game, I'm just a guy watching. I've seen guys try stuff. I thought I was beholding what I saw properly for what it was. For all I know, I was looking at something that wasn't even what it was that they were actually doing. Who knows, man? You know what I mean? When you're a fan, you think you know until you do. I use the analogy of back when I was a very young child, watching my elementary school samba band and their drumming pattern for this one particular song. I could hear what they were doing, and so as I mimicked it, listening to the patterns, I was able to create the sound with my hands that they were making with the drums. When I actually got in the band and I learned how to play that sound, I realized what I had done was nothing like what it is they were doing. It just came out to be the same sound. But when you actually learn how to play the song, it's like, whoa, this is what y'all was doing? And yes, when you figure it out, it sounds exactly like what it is that I was putting out there. But it wasn't how you actually do it. And so that's what taught me the understanding of, you can think you know what the hell you're doing, and you can even make it look right or sound right depending on what you're doing. But until you actually get in there to understand exactly what they're doing, you don't have a clue. And if you go and teach somebody your way, you're not teaching them the way that is actually done when the pros are doing it. So it taught me that lesson early in life, and I've understood that is something I should carry into my opinions in regards to basketball. All of that being said, we all come to a conclusion that we have some type of opinion. Mine being, I think when you're going up against athletic teams, you probably should try to put your best athletes on the floor. Now, does that mean that you're going to have an opportunity to succeed every time you do that? No, as I said, it may not work that way. But if we're going to put our slowest guys on the floor and then ask them to want it more as it pertains to winning 50-50 battles against a team that is the best offensive rebounding team since 2001, well, with teams with guys like Tari Eason, Reed Shepherd, Alperen Sengun, Kevin Durant, Amen Thompson, I don't think you can approach them with Rui Hachimura, who's not particularly quick twitchy, and you go out there with Maxi Kleber. You're not going to have too much success, in my opinion, against this type of team. 9 out of 10 times, you're likely going to fail. And then you got Austin, who's trying to come back from injury. He doesn't come back in the second half. You got Luka, who's not quite 100%. He's wincing in the second half, so he's not driving at the rim like you need him to. He's settling for long shots. You didn't put enough of what could help you compete with the team you were going against, in my opinion, on the floor. And then you left yourself with players that are weak in the areas that Houston attacks, and then you demand them want it more, as if that's supposed to make them quicker, make them faster, make them better at this than a team that's the best we've seen at this in over 15 years. It makes JJ look like he doesn't have a clue that what he's doing isn't the right way to go. Or furthermore, that he is just scapegoating the team because he refuses to do things that will help him match up better with this team. However the truth comes about, it's only logical to come to that conclusion if you agree with what I think he should have done versus what it is that he actually did. And look, I don't know that what I would have tried to do would have gotten us the win, because I don't know that we have enough to really compete with the Rockets. I said that in the pregame. I just don't think this team really competes with a team like this. I think Amen Thompson is a player in this league that, as long as our team is constructed the way we are, we're going to always struggle against teams that he's on. I really believe that. You can put him on any team in the world, and anytime he go up against the Lakers, he's going to be able to do things because of just how our team is constructed. LeBron at 40, Ayton, good at rebounding, but when you go up against a great rebounding team, suddenly his rebounding advantage goes away. Austin, who's not particularly athletic, doesn't particularly handle ball pressure well, definitely ain't beating Amen Thompson in anything athletic, not as it pertains to being faster, quicker, stronger, leaping, none of that. He ain't going to beat him in none of those things. Luka, same thing. And all of Luka's greatest abilities, one of his weakest attributes is his athleticism and speed. It's just not happening. So, like, to me, Amen Thompson makes for an excellent player to go up against the Lakers. Until the Lakers change the entire construction of their roster, they're going to struggle with him and players like him. Period. I really believe that. Because our team, if we put our best stuff on the floor, is always going to be a lot slower than necessary for him to run circles around us. That's just him alone. That doesn't include Kevin Durant. That don't include Tyree Eason. That don't include Reed Shepherd. That doesn't include Josh Okogie. They just have great players for that aspect of the game, man. 50-50 balls, offensive rebounds. And you consider the center position. Steven Adams, Alperen Sengun, Clint Capella, Dodo. Now he's back. He wanted to come back against us. For the first game he played against the Rockets after leaving us, he wanted to come back against the Lakers. That's so rich of him. You know, it wasn't enough for him to be an op and just take a contract like that from the Rockets. He had to try to come back against us, which I thought was that was some real op stuff he did there. But that's a whole nother story. Point is, we don't match up well at all against the Rockets. Just like I'm starting to realize, I think we're all starting to realize, the Thunder don't match up at all well with the San Antonio Spurs, and they had better avoid them at all costs in the playoffs. Because the Spurs just have their number, how they're constructed, all of those things that San Antonio does well, all those things that San Antonio has advantages in, Oklahoma has advantages in, the Spurs have answers for it. And so that's kind of what it is with the Rockets and the Lakers. Everything that we have advantages in, the Rockets have answers for it. So it's like the Lakers are going to have to, and the biggest problem for me tonight was just the double and triple down on slow when you put Rui in the lineup that he was in, coming back off an injury. You see what I'm saying? This is one of those situations where I said, man, we're just running into the worst teams for what it is that we are dealing with. That's the reality of it. I think that a lot of the people who are talking about this team are trying to figure out why this team is struggling. The Lakers are struggling because they're running into teams that attack them just right when they're constantly bringing back players from injury against them. You see what I'm saying? The Clippers have the wings and the defensive players, the Duns, the Kawhi and all that. And you're trying to bring back Austin that game. You know what I mean? Just bringing back LeBron over the last month. And you're going up against teams like the Suns who have constant defensive players. You put Austin in the game. It wasn't the Clippers. It was Austin against the Suns, rather. He's not great at dealing with ball pressure just in general. But when you have him coming back from injury, he's rusty. And you got him going up against Goodwin. You got him going up against Bouye. You got him going up against Gillespie and all of these hounding defensive players. Obviously, Dylan Brooks. This is just not... You don't really want to go up against those guys when these players we have are in rhythm. But you definitely don't want them going up against these guys when the players that you're bringing back are coming back from injury. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, that's what's happening to the Lakers. Sometimes it's just about perfect storms and matchups, man. We went on that 7-game winning streak. I didn't think we were playing much better in that 7-game winning streak than we are right now. That's why I was during that winning streak providing a certain urgency after those victories, because I'm like, yo, we're trying stuff that we're not going to be able to get away with against better teams. Now, a lot has went wrong aside from us doing things the wrong way. But it was the same idea that, yo, things don't always have to work out. You're bleeding bad teams. Now you're running into good teams. You're struggling against those good teams. It just is what it is. You're not running into no dopes. You're not running into just a doofy couple squads that just stumble into a victory every 2 weeks. No, you're running into those teams that play hard, that play defensively hard. And I think the schedule makers kind of know that. I think they're kind of setting us up for the parity in the league based on who you play and when, the likelihood that you're going to beat those teams, studying the attributes of these teams to an absolute T, and then pairing teams against certain teams that they can beat for a period of time, and then having them run into teams that they can't beat for a period of time. And it kind of balances out the roster if you do it just right amongst all the 30 teams. I really do think I think they've set all of these teams up to kind of fall into certain records at certain times. And with the presence of AI being able to do so much genius stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if they just asked AI, yo, can you make it so that all these teams are fairly comparable no matter how well they're playing based on strength of team versus strength of schedule or whatever. Like, you can really do that now. So I think that's what's happening out there. I legitimately think that the NBA is kind of creating parity amongst a lot of these teams so that at the end of the season they could have just crazy playoff-like atmosphere games down the stretch of the season. Certain players can make all-star teams. Different things like that I think are legitimately happening because of the schedule and the likelihood that teams are going to struggle based on specific attributes and things like that. It's quite, I don't know, I'm detecting that. I'm not sure if I'm right, but I'm detecting that there might be something to that. And now, with the Lakers, you know, doubling back to what I was saying, you find yourself now running into a Rockets team that is got all of these 50-50 ball offensive rebounding strengths, and you have a team that you have to forego certain spacing in order to put the players on the floor that can ultimately do enough of that for you. That's what it really comes down to. You got to forego some of the best shooting ability so that you can have your best 50-50 ball guys on the floor, so that you can have a roster on the floor that can compete with the Rockets in the areas where they're most strong. And JJ has to believe that it makes sense to put those players on the floor together long enough in order for you to have a chance. And I don't think he believes in those combinations of players because they may not fit the plays that he has set up, or he may not have run them very much together, or they may all overlap in the same position. And so that's what I think the Lakers really ran into tonight. Based on my logic of basketball, I just think that you never had the stuff on the floor that you needed to actually be able to keep up with the Rockets in the areas where they're most strong. We turn the ball over too much because our ball handlers are just fresh off injury trying to come back, and they're not in the best conditioning. They're not in a great rhythm right now. You got Rui out there at half mast, who's the worst player in the world for this, because he ain't no good at that stuff even when he's in his best bag. He ain't no good at getting steals and boards and, you know, keeping up with people laterally and 50-50 balls. None of that is he's no good at any of that stuff. He's really good at scoring the ball, and when he's not in shape or in rhythm, he ain't even doing that. So You bringing him back against the Rockets, and you throwing him in the starting lineup. You slapping him next to Bron, half-mass Luka, half-mass Austin, and Ayton, poor Ayton. You giving yourself no chance against what the Rockets have specifically. You give yourself no chance. And that's why after this game, I cringed real hard listening to JJ blame the players' desire. This is not the game to pull that rabbit out of the hat. You're going to lose the squad. Because they're going to look at you and say, you didn't put our most athletic player on the floor. I'll do Thero until garbage time. You're going up against Amon Thompson and Kogi and Tari Eason and Kevin Durant and Alperen Sengun, and you didn't put Adou Thero on the floor at all. You needed the speed, athleticism, and 50-50 ball prowess that player provided. On top of Vanderbilt, who was probably the best player on the floor tonight, if I'm being real. Vanderbilt was probably the best player out there. And I love what Vanderbilt did from behind the arc, 3 out of 4 from behind the arc. He's never shot that well in his Laker career, probably not even in his life. That 3 ball, I told people over a month ago that his 3 ball is starting to fall, that it wasn't necessarily showing up in the box score, but he has been shooting the 3 ball extremely well for his standards. And now y'all starting to see what I'm talking about. I started sensing this well before now. I started sensing this actually before we benched him. And I even said so as much. Before we benched him for 8 games, 7 games, whatever it was, he started shooting like this. And I was like, he's not identifying that Vanderbilt is starting to do the thing that you need him to do in order to have confidence that he should be out there. Whether he's having a good game or a bad game, the 3 ball's falling. You know? So I just think at this point, Vanderbilt showed us why you need him still. Because against the Rockets, if you didn't have Vanderbilt tonight, that was a 40-point loss. I'm just being honest with you. That's a 40-point loss. If you replace Vanderbilt with Gabe Vincent, that's a 40-point loss. Which is what we would have done if Gabe Vincent was out there, and this was 3 weeks ago. That would have been Gabe Vincent. And we would have gotten our tails beat so much worse than we did tonight. I think after a point, JJ's identification of guys not wanting it bad became kind of real because it was Christmas Day. We're getting our butts kicked. We're not fashioning this team. I think there was a point where you saw certain possessions where guys did not try as hard as they should have. But that was well after it was established that we were not competitive, in my opinion. That was well established after the point where we became certain that the Lakers, what we were using, couldn't compete with this team. That's when you start seeing guys not diving for loose balls. It's Christmas. These guys are superstars. One of them is 41 years old in a couple of days. They ain't gonna try too damn hard under these circumstances, bro. If what you have on the floor can't complement them even in a well enough way to compete. And that's what it was. JJ definitely identified that correctly. But when did that become the case? That wasn't tip-off. No, that wasn't a tip-off. And look, I thought the Lakers offense, maybe you credited the Rockets defense. Somebody smarter in basketball would have to tell me. Were the Rockets forcing us into bad shots? Or we were just taking bad shots? Because to me, it took almost 2.5 quarters for us to string together 2 or 3 good quality shots in a row. I just didn't think we were looking good out there with the shots we were trying to generate. And when you couple that with the fact that you're giving up just so many offensive rebounds off of missed shots, you're giving up so many defensive rebounds off of missed shots, you're turning the ball over, and your defense is squat. You got all these things working against you. Then on the offensive end, you're not looking for easy buckets. So it's like, yo, we were lucky to lose by whatever we lost by, you guys. I'm being honest with you. Because we had so much working against us that it was very difficult to see the Lakers compete in this basketball game if you really look at what the problems were and you look at how we were playing. It was worse than the score even told the story, honestly. It was worse than that. At one point, we were only down by 6. That was amazing considering all the stuff that was going on down there. So it was a lot of things that came together as a perfect storm, including the Rockets just playing better ball than they've been playing lately. And that's what happens when you run into a team that's been losing a lot. They know they're running into a team that's struggling. And the games they've been losing in overtime. It just becomes a situation where the other team is going to feel like they can finally get over the hump and win. And given the fact that they've been playing overtime games, they close. So it's like you already knew they were going to bring a certain level of intensity to this situation. And if you couldn't match it, which you likely can't match any damn way, it becomes a situation where you never got a chance. This is why I don't want JJ to bring up this problem in regards to him saying, okay, the Lakers are not trying hard enough or whatever in this basketball game. You save that for a different game. It's just the wrong game for that. And so that's my take on things, man. I would love to say I'm more frustrated, but I think most of our problems just come from real X's and O issues, man. I don't particularly sense that it's off the court stuff or guys not believing in one another or chemistry issues that's driving a good portion of what's going wrong here. I have a keen sense of how much a guy can struggle when he's coming back from injury, going in and out of the lineup. And when you got 4 or 5 starters in that right there, that being the case, hell yeah, you're going to struggle against teams that press as hard as the Rockets and the Suns. You ain't got a chance. You ain't got a chance. And so I don't think the sky is falling unless the Lakers implode because of the lack of success in the short term. Because that's what ends up happening. Things outside of your control can cause people to slump their shoulders, start blaming one another, and then become more of a problem than it actually is. The issues are not guys not trying or not working with one another or none of that. I think the issues are actually X's and O's. I think the issues are actually guys coming back from injury, running into the very worst thing to be dealing with when you're them coming back from injury. And so, but I think we're now approaching a crossroads where guys could now start losing interest. Guys can start pointing fingers. Guys can start not trusting one another. I think we're at that space where the Lakers got to make a decision. And the decision is, do you want to implode because of things outside of our control? Listening to talking heads who seem to think that it's time to implode or that you are imploding? Or are you going to come together, shake it off, accept the fact that certain things are happening that are outside of your control, causing a good portion of your lack of success, and keep searching for new things that can work against these equations which have not been successful for us up until this point? New things. Because the Lakers can go one of 2 directions. They can start acting a damn fool because they're losing right now and cause us more suffering. We can start looking bad, even worse rather. Or we can say, all right, let's go. We've been losing, but there were things that we could have did differently. There were things that are outside our control. Guys are not going to play as bad as they did because the pressure that these teams we've been running into are not going to be as prevalent once we start running into some of the other teams that are going to be on the pipeline. And our guys are going to get in better shape. We're going to get in better rhythm because we're going to be healthier. These are the first game back injury issues. This is not going to continue 3, 4, 5, 6 games down the road for each of these individual players who have this problem. Now, the question is also, is this going to continue to be a recurring problem? Because Austin and Luka specifically did look as if they re-aggravated their injuries today. And so, but to identify even that is, okay, well, this is something to put in the nothing we can do about it bag instead of the I'm mad at all of us bag. You know what I mean? It's about keeping your poise and identifying what the problems actually are. And if you can't identify what the problems actually are, don't just be mad just because you're losing. You can be mad at certain aspects of losing, but being mad at losing and misidentifying it can be severely fracturing to the chemistry of a team. You're losing because this, and this happened. You're not losing because that guy didn't try hard enough. You're not losing because this guy didn't run the, didn't want it. No, you're losing because this, and this happened, and you ran into that team. Identifying that, harboring enough frustration from within one's own self, accountability, and not at the next man. Because you can sure spiral from here if you look at your losing and then just automatically start applying blame. You can definitely lose 10, 12 straight if you let that get out of control. And the poise of this basketball team is what's in the balance here at this point. And if we keep making the wrong decision in regards to blame and letting that losing inspire our lack of effort, you can definitely be certain that you ain't gonna win much going forward. You can be certain that you're gonna spiral in the standings. So that's really what I want to say. I think we're at that crossroads now. We've lost 3 straight. Coach is starting to show that he doesn't have accountability. Whether you agree with that or not, that's what it's showing. Players are starting to kind of slump their shoulders and not try as hard in certain situations. And I think we could start the process of having back chemistry from here if we choose to. But I need my coach. I'm going to tell you the truth. I need JJ to stop spearheading the spiral. I know he's passionate. I know he obsesses over what it is that he wants to see successfully. And I know he believes in himself and his basketball intellect. But don't let that be what loses you the locker room, bro. Because once you start doing this, you definitely open up the door for people tuning you out. I'm just being honest. That's not the button to press, I don't believe. I don't think that's the button to press. And you're going to start losing people. People already frustrated at the losing, and then they hear you blaming them without putting onus on yourself and without trying things that may work. And that's a bad combination for keeping your locker room, man. You're going to lose your locker room doing that. And so that's my point of view, man. I don't want to see my team spiral from here because I don't think that all this losing is just because guys can't. No, I think guys need to get back in shape, come back from injury. And we need to start running into some teams that aren't completely devastating to go up against in the areas where we're most weak. And the areas that mostly are exploited when you're coming back from injury. That's like 60% of it for me. Maybe even more, honestly. And so we got the Sacramento Kings next. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the team. I really don't. The way they've been playing, you got Russell over there, you got Schroeder over there, you got DeRozan over there. These are not the people that you want to go up against when you're slow of foot, when you don't have energy, when you're starting to blame one another. Keegan Murray, these guys are particularly good at stealing the ball, offensive rebounding. Like, if I'm not mistaken, this game is in Los Angeles, so that makes it feel a little better than having to go up into Sacramento. But I don't think it gets that much easier going into Sac, man. This thing I've said about Sac for a couple of weeks now, since the beginning of the season, is they have too many passionate, already proven players to be horrible. What I mean by passionate is, you're talking about Westbrook, you're talking about DeRozan, you're talking about Schroeder. These guys play with a certain fire. For better or for worse, sometimes it gets in their way, but they play with a certain fire. So if you're not going to match that fire, then you're likely going to lose the game against those people. They have too many of them dudes for them to suck as bad as they do. And now they got the Maxey Ronaldo guy that I like a lot. He's starting to turn into a center they can feel good about. Keegan Murray's back from injury. That matters a lot. So this is a different Sacramento team than what we saw at the beginning of the season. And even though they probably overall still are going to not be a good team, they're better than what they've shown. And you're going to need to play hard. And you're going to need to be quick to the basketball, I believe, to defeat them. This Rockets team we just saw, they lost to them just recently. So That's my thing. I think the Los Angeles Lakers are in a desperate situation to try to find some continuity, some accountability, some speed, some athleticism, and I think I have ideas of what could work, but you may end up foregoing some other things that may not be a problem, or rather opening up holes that may not necessarily be open when you try to plug this hole that ultimately I'm trying to tell you to plug. So that's what I'm worried about. You may fix this problem and create two more. But I think it's what's required at this point for the Lakers' issues. You got to try to use Adou a lot more, man. A lot more. And our coach, JJ, has just not quite been up for that. And I do think it's costing him big right now. I think it's costing him very big right now. That's the player that is your answer for all of these fast, quick twitch players that we ultimately have been running into over the last 3 games. You know what I mean? And he's just not. It's like he doesn't believe that is the case, man. And it's unfortunate because it really is probably his best option at offsetting some of these fast players, some of these big, long guys that are just beating us to loose balls, beating us to offensive rebounds quicker than our dudes. And Rui Hachimura is just the worst ingredient for that problem, meshed next to the rest of the players that we ultimately already have. You need somebody like Vanderbilt, like, Adou, to offset the athleticism deficiency at that 4 spot, instead of Rui. You just do, man. You just really, really do. And there's some things that, like, here's something like, so I really like what I'm seeing out of man, his name comes and goes in regards to my memory. LaRavia, Jake. There's some things about Jake LaRavia that I absolutely really like, but there's some things about Jake LaRavia that absolutely scream he's a scrub. And I have to be honest, and I've said this several times, he's a player that can really, really play well, and he's a player that has certain weaknesses that really you only see in players that are not that great. And for me, one of the things that I think we really need to work with him on is driving at the rim and looking to attack. There were far too many times, maybe even 3 times tonight alone, where he drove at the rim and dribbled out of opportunities to attack. Now, maybe that comes from a fear of being blocked, right? A healthy fear of being blocked, a healthy fear of turnovers can do that. But when you drive hesitant and you look to dribble out of situations instead of attacking at the rim, sometimes you take away your best opportunity at your best shooting option for that particular possession. He tends to kill us in that way, and I think it's an underrated deterrent to our success. That ain't the only way he does it. He does it in a lot of key moments where he just won't attack. You have the open shot, he won't take it. He'll drive at the rim, he'll pass out of it instead of looking for the contact. His hesitancy hurts the team. But for the areas that you need him on the floor, which he excels, you need him on the floor. So that's what's going on as well, in my opinion, is his deficiency coupled with our need for his strengths, living and dying with those deficiencies and strengths, because you have to. He's not able to attack consistently enough in some key areas, and he's throwing possessions away. It doesn't look like he's throwing possessions away, but it results in you not getting a good quality possession out of the plays he's on the floor for some of the time. And then just the same, he'll shoot a contested 3-point shot like he did tonight from the corner. It went in, but I cringed when I saw him take the shot because he was highly contested. And so if you have enough of that going on, coupled with the other areas that you already struggle in, and you need to have him on the floor, and you have to live with those problems, that you can count that as like 4 or 5 possessions gone. 4 or 5 possessions gone just off the strength of his decision making and his hesitancy. His hesitancy, man. He just be scared of contact, scared of getting packed, just not confident. His lack of confidence when driving at the rim, when taking open shots, and his propensity to take poor shots. All of that stuff just kills us, bro. It does. It kills us. And I would love to see what the numbers look like on that. 9 out of 10 NBA players going to attack in the areas that he's hesitant in. And it hurts you. It hurts you a lot. So that was something I saw a lot tonight. I was just looking at it and saying, yo, he really is more of a problem than he is a solution, because these are key plays a lot of times where we really need to score. And our best look is him, and he's scared to take the shot. Or he passing out of our best look, and we end up taking some contested fall away, something, end up offensive foul, something that goes wrong because he's not attacking. So it's just a lot of stuff that's going wrong, man. It's a lot of stuff that's going wrong. I think that solution comes from having a player a bit better than him in his stead and moving him down a pecking order a bit. That might be a argument for making a trade for DeAndre Hunter or Wiggins, just so you can eliminate those possessions. Them type of possessions. You got to eliminate those. That's a real thing, man. And then you got the same thing going on with Rui in a different way, because he's doing so much bad on the defensive end, getting run past on the defensive end. It's like you only get a plus out of Rui if he's scoring, man. Otherwise, he's on the floor creating all types of defensive holes. He's a big body that ain't rebounding, which means his man is likely rebounding. Or he's putting more pressure on other people to rebound around him, which creates the environment for more fouls. You know what I mean? Stuff like that just comes from having a big body dude that doesn't board. So it's so much wrong with this roster right now, man. And a lot of it is masked by efficiency and greatness from Luka, and efficiency and rebounding from Ayton. And when you don't have those two things working at a high enough clip, it exposes all of these little problems that are always in place. And then you want to add Gabe Vincent to that mix and all of the wrong that goes on when he's on the damn floor. It's no wonder why our team has been struggling so much. It's no wonder why we can't seem to blow anybody out. Because we leave so much meat on the bone from possession to possession based on the weaknesses of all the players that we're forced to play. And what does that equal? In its most lowest common denominator, you're just not being good enough. That is the essence of what not being good enough actually is. The people you're relying upon not being able to do the job well enough to get you the victories. That's literally what's going on there, which is not good enough. But we have some extreme strengths. Luka Doncic at his best is an amazing player. Austin Reeves at his best is turning into an amazing player. LeBron James at his best, an amazing player. Ayton at his best, an amazing player. So what you need is for those players to get back to playing amazing. And right now, none of them are. None of them are. When you look at when the Lakers were killing it earlier in the season, it's when every night somebody was doing something absolutely, utterly amazing. If it wasn't Austin, it was Luka. And then, with them being absolutely and utterly amazing, everybody else just simply doing their job got you over the hump. That's the reality of it. That's what you were dealing with the first 10 games of the season. You're getting a 50-point game out of one of them two players every damn night. And no Gabe Vincent to come in and make you worse. No Maxi Kleber coming in to make you worse. You know what I'm saying? No LeBron James to be old and slow. It's just the truth, man. And something else that you really missed tonight was Jackson Hayes. Jackson ain't really been playing that great lately, but you needed his athleticism, his offensive rebound and all of that. You needed that tonight. And you ain't really had it the whole week. And all these losses, he's been worse. If there's one thing that you could say has been consistent, he's sucked in all these games we've been losing. So I don't know how much you want to credit that to our ineptitude, but you can add that to another nugget of things that's not working. So, I mean, that's the reality of it, man. Your Los Angeles Lakers, ladies and gentlemen, are just a basketball team that has a lot of individual issues, and people are, instead of identifying those issues and trying to or being successful in plugging those holes, whether they're trying to or not, they're going around blaming one another. it seems, or at least the coach looked like he blaming people. And that's making it's making people start to tune him out, or making it so that people aren't trying hard, or making it so that people are not giving him the effort that he needs in specific plays. So, yeah, I just think you got to give it to more. You got to give hungrier guys more opportunities. Bro. This is why I think our G League talent may be a good thing to do right now. You may want to play the young guys more, because what you need is hunger. And what the starters need is rest. And if you're going to lose these damn games anyway, you might as well be using people who are going to get better while doing so. If you're going to lose these games anyway, you might as well be putting guys in scenarios that they can learn from. I don't think you want all these people relying on each other too much, but you do need to find a sweet medium, a balance in regards to utilizing your stars and utilizing these young guys. And I just don't think JJ's really understanding that, or he's not doing that. He's not doing that. So I don't know, JJ. If we're gonna lose, I mean, I pretty much the same thought. I'm about to speak in circles, but this is the reality of my thought. If we're gonna lose, we might as well lose while people are getting better, bro. Bottom line. If we're gonna lose, we might as well lose while people are getting better. I have no use for overusing Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic, being so Luka-centric that he's taking all the shots in the first quarter. And that's another thing. The way that we were winning, if I'm being real with y'all, the way we were winning, I thought the light had changed. I'm tripping. The way we were winning was Luka literally, absolutely literally, taking all the shots in the first quarter, getting into game stats in the first quarter. How long do we think that's going to work before people figure out that there? How long do you think that works before people figure it out? We have to ask ourselves, were we not becoming a bit too predictable? Yo, this light is freaking tripping, bro. It's turning green over there, and as soon as it turns like it's going to allow me to walk, it immediately turns green. It's like, yo, I'm halfway across the street thinking I'm going to have a light, and all of a sudden it just immediately turned red. No blink, no nothing. Like, this will get you killed out here. I don't know what the hell going on with this light, but it's trying to kill these pedestrians. At any rate, so that's what I see, man. I don't doubt that the Los Angeles Lakers may have solutions. It's just, what is it going to cost you to play those solutions? What problems are created once we put our solutions in place? And if JJ doesn't see that as a plus, then he's going to continue to use what he's using, and then we're going to lose this way. That's what it is. Chris Mannion, I've said it a million times, Chris Mannion, Jared Vanderbilt, Adu Thero, Jake LaRavia, these are guys that you need to lean into, because if we have any strengths in this league right now, it is our 50-50 ball prowess with those type of players. And I know we ain't seen Chris Mannion do very much of that because we don't hardly use him. But when the homework that I did on this player, that's kind of what he's good at. Offensive rebound, 50-50 ball, stealing the ball, going the other way. Like, that's kind of his game. So it's like if you just try him out and he shows you what it is he's already shown me, what you end up finding out is you have solutions to some of the problems that you have. But, like, you got to find ways of using them. You got to see that as a solution. And you can't overreact to what doesn't work out when you're using the players that ultimately give you these solutions. And that, I don't think JJ has shown me he has a temperament for that. So, which way do you prefer to lose, JJ? You want to lose with your stars, or you want to lose with the guys that maybe can attack these weaknesses? And I guess logic is going to tell a guy who's, trying to keep from being fired to lose with his stars. So you're going to be slow. You're going to, you're not going to have, there has to be a balance, I guess. If you're trying to find a solution, there has to be a balance. You can't lean one way too far or the other too far. You know what I mean? But we can't keep asking half of Luka, half of Austin, old man LeBron, and Rui Hachimura to be the four players that we have on the floor against teams like this. You're going to get beat like this every single damn time. As I continue to sit at this corner with this broken light that ain't doing nothing for me right now at all. And I'm ready to go home. But, yeah, man, I love that I had this walk home because it allowed for me to get a lot of this off of my chest. I think our team can win a lot of games this season, but I think as we continue to be this particular team, combination of players utilized this way, Anytime we run into teams that have these specific type of feisty wing dudes and elite shooting, you're going to lose. You're going to lose to Phoenix. You're going to lose to San Antonio. You're going to lose to OKC. You're going to lose to the Rockets. These are teams like this you're going to lose to each and every time. You're never going to have any success against those type of squads until our coach starts utilizing some of these guys that are quicker and faster and stronger more often. And that's really what it comes down to, man. I've seen enough of this at this point to know that Luka may be able to rise to the level and be the guy on certain nights while you have those issues, get the 50-point triple-double, but you're going to run him into the ground when you do that. You're going to run him into the ground, and when you do, it's going to suck for you. You know what I mean? And he's going to get hurt, and then you're going to be back in square one. You can do the same thing with Austin. He's going to get hurt, and he's going to be back at square one. It just doesn't work, you guys. And so that's my point of view. I want people to kind of be patient with our roster, but I also want us to continue to suggest with our voices to our coach that maybe we do have some solutions outside of making trades to this problem. Adu, number one. Vando, number two. You got to use these guys, man. You got to use these guys. You got to use them, and you got to live with the results. You got to live with Jake LaRavia and all his nonsense. you got to try these guys out. And look, I know Bronny James is a player who's a long way away from his development, but when I'm lacking speed, he's also somebody I can go to for that exact thing. He's not slow. He's very athletic. He does play defense. He may not be great at it right now, but if you're forced to use Bronny James 82 games, what you're going to end up finding out is that the speed, the athleticism, his attacking ability, he's going to go off. We haven't quite given him the rope to do that at all, but that's what really needs to happen. You need these guys to get extensive opportunities, be given the rope to succeed and fail, get them as comfortable as humanly possible, learn them as best as humanly possible, and you will eventually gain confidence in them. They'll gain confidence in themselves. They'll learn what they need to learn to be helpful to your team, and then you can utilize them to the best of your ability. By the end of the season, they could be in regular rotation. The rookies that don't get opportunities are never going to become serviceable role players for you. But rookies that do get opportunities early in the season, by the end of the year, they're serviceable role players for you. You got to try them out to get that out of them. And I just don't think JJ is going to do that. I think a lot of coaches have that problem. So you don't get out of them what you need. That's what it is. And what you hope is that the players that you have in those positions and those roles are not a necessity to your roster. Hopefully you have enough guys who do the things that the rookies do so that you're not forced to use these rookies. But that's not how this team is set up. And so we got to be honest about that and use the damn rookies. So that's what I'm telling y'all. That those are the solutions. Those are the in-house solutions. Those are the solutions that we're working to the build of the roster. Like when our GM was trying to figure out how to plug some of these athletic holes, this is why he went out and made 2 trades to be able to acquire Adu Thero. He picked up Adu Thero because he answered a call for a specific need. If you don't plug him in, it's as if he never did that. And that is what it is. And I said that when we drafted him, like, yo, in a perfect world, I let Adu Thero sit, work in the G League and develop his skills for like 2 years, 3 years before I even throw him out there. But for the Los Angeles Lakers, I'm going to need what he does now. I'm going to need what he does right now. Even him as a young player that's not quite as good as I'm going to make him, I need what he does right now. And it's like, you got to be able to identify that if you're the coach, and you got to be strong in the sense that, yeah, it may not work out, but it's the only thing you got that can give you a chance in that regard. So, that's what it is, man. JJ, I don't know, man. JJ, it's too. I don't know of JJ well enough to know if he's cracking or not, or if he's just pressing buttons thinking he knows what's going to work. I don't know. I don't really know. Some people who do what he did tonight, you say, okay, he's cracking. He's cracking under the pressure. He's not handling the pressure well. He's not handling this losing well. He's losing his mind. Other guys do what he did, and you say, okay, well, they're just trying to fire up the team. They know their personnel, and you should expect good results from this. I don't really know. And I don't know if JJ really know, to be honest with you. So that is my point of view. I tell you all the truth. At the end of the playoffs last year, I was ready to fire that boy. But I still think that there are things about his game, about his coaching and what he brings to the table are state of the art and rather good to have. And I'm not advocating for us firing him tonight. Not at all. I do not want to fire my coach right now. Absolutely not. But what I will say is he's starting to show signs that he may not necessarily be the guy. And I'm not quite there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not there yet. I don't even think I'm headed there. I want to hold on to the coach right now. I want to hold on to him. I'm not asking us to fire him. I would be upset if we did. Very upset if we did right now. But we're starting to reach a point where it's like, yo, is he the same thing I said about him before he even got the job? Is he the right personality to convey ideas when we've been failing? Or is he the guy that's going to end up having people wanting to choke his ass like PJ Carlesimo? Because he shows me that he can tend to be that kind of person. And this was before he became a coach. I was like, yo, he seemed like the kind of dude, he going to say the wrong thing and he going to have problems with guys. Real problems with guys. And I'm just saying, like, tonight and some of the stuff that I've been listening to in regards to commentary from people who have been listening to him lately, it's almost like he's starting to go down that path where when we're losing, he becomes a really difficult person to work with. And that can end up biting him in the backside to where he won't be able to keep the locker room, as we said already. And, you know, whatever great ideas he may have, that he may not be able to convey them and get guys to buy in. So, you know, I'm not trying to put that out there. I'm just telling you that we're in a space now where we're going to be paying very close attention to him to see how he handles this losing. Because if he doesn't handle losing well enough, he will lose the locker room, and it won't matter what good ideas he has. You know what I mean? So that's really what it comes down to, man. So we got to keep our poise. That's really what it comes down to. LeBron James, I'm looking at him as well because he's obviously an elder statesman in this locker room. I can't look at Luka and say you'll have it together. Luka's 26 years old. I can't look at Austin 27 years old. These are kids to us. You know what I mean? I'm their age. JJ and LeBron, I'm their age. They're kids to us, bro. I'm looking at Jake LaRavia. Have it together. No. It's us. We got to have it together. The 40-year-olds in the room, the coach and the old men have to have it together if you want your team to succeed. Otherwise, it's going to be bad. So we got to work it out, man. We got to work it out. Our team is not performing in a way that we respect for whatever good or bad reasons. And it's incumbent upon our team to really keep our composure and continue trying things that maybe we haven't tried yet. So I appreciate everybody for letting me rant here on Video 44. Merry Christmas. I'm out.